Hey there, and welcome. We're all living our lives online these days, right? We're constantly sharing, clicking, and connecting. But have you ever stopped to think about how all that data, your personal stuff, is actually kept safe from prying eyes? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the essential techniques that form the backbone of our digital protection. Let's dive in. First, I want you to look at this number, 230,000. What is that? Well, that's how many computers in over 150 countries got infected by the WannaCry ransomware attack in just one day. Now, this wasn't some sci-fi movie plot. This was real life. It crippled hospitals, businesses, you name it, and it really showed us just how vulnerable we can all be.
So that brings us to the big question, doesn't it? When an attack like that can spread like wildfire, it's totally natural to wonder, hey, what's standing between my information and someone who wants to steal it? How is your data actually kept safe? Let's start breaking down the layers of defense.
First things first, to understand the defenses, we've got to understand the attacks. You can think of it like a digital battlefield. You can't build a strong fortress if you have no idea what kind of enemy you're up against, right?
So, let's meet the three main villains in our story. First up, you've got malware. This is kind of an umbrella term for nasty stuff like Trojan horses or spyware that pretend to be legitimate programs but are really there to mess up your system. Then there's phishing. These are those tricky, fraudulent emails that look totally real, trying to fool you into giving up your passwords or credit card numbers. And finally, ransomware, the WannaCry type, which literally holds your own files hostage by scrambling them up and demanding money to get them back.
Okay, so with those threats out there, how do we start building our defenses? Well, the very first, most fundamental layer is like building the giant outer wall of a fortress. And in the digital world, we call this a firewall.
So how does this digital bouncer work? Basically, every bit of data trying to get into or out of your network is chopped up into little pieces called packets. The firewall is like a security guard at the main gate. It inspects every single packet, checking where it came from, where it's going, and what's inside against a set of rules. If a packet looks sketchy or comes from a known bad neighborhood on the internet, nope, it's blocked. If it's all good, it gets to pass through. It's that simple, but wow, is it effective.
But what happens if a really sneaky attacker manages to slip past the firewall? What then? Well, that's where our next line of defense kicks in, and honestly, this one's a real game changer in cybersecurity. Encryption.
Encryption is an amazing concept. It takes perfectly readable data, like your email or a password, and uses a special algorithm to scramble it into complete gibberish, this secret code called ciphertext. The only way to turn that gibberish back into something readable is to use a specific digital key. So without that key, any data an attacker steals is absolutely useless to them. Now this whole encryption thing comes in two main flavors. First, there's symmetric encryption. Think of this like having a single, shared key for a safety deposit box. It's really fast and simple, but the tricky part is you have to find a safe way to give that key to the other person. Then you have asymmetric encryption, which is super clever. It's like having a public mailbox. Anyone can use your public key to drop an encrypted message in, but only you have the private key to actually open the box and read it. It's a bit slower, but it's fantastic for keeping communications secure and proving who sent what.
So we've got our fortress wall, the firewall, and our secret code, encryption. But both of these rely on one crucial thing: making sure only the right people have the keys to the gate and the codebook. And this is all about controlling access. You know, this quote really hits the nail on the head. For all the talk about sophisticated defenses, the simplest way for an attacker to get in is to just walk through the front door using a weak or stolen password. That makes your password the single most important key that you control. So how do you make that key strong? It's all about complexity and uniqueness. You want it to be long? Use a mix of uppercase, lowercase, numbers, symbols, the whole shebang. And please, don't use simple words or your pet's name. But here's the absolute biggest one. Do not reuse passwords. If one account gets hacked, you don't want to hand over the master key to your entire digital life. Seriously, a password manager makes all of this so much easier. But hey, even a really strong password can be stolen. That's why you should always add another lock. It's called two-factor authentication, or 2FA, and it means that even if someone steals your password, they still can't get in without a second piece of proof, usually a temporary code that gets sent right to your phone. It is one of the single best things you can do to lock down your accounts. Okay, we've covered the fortress walls, the secret codes, and guarding the keys. Now, let's just take a quick step back and see how all of these pieces fit together to create a security system that's actually tough to crack. And here is the key takeaway, the most important thing to remember from all this.
There is no single silver bullet for data security. It's not a product you buy, it's a strategy of layered defense. The firewall keeps most of the bad stuff out. Encryption makes sure that if anything does get through, the data is useless. And strong access control ensures that only the right people had the keys to begin with. See? Each layer backs up the others.
And that brings us to our final thought. This digital battlefield is always changing. Attackers are constantly coming up with new tricks, which means our defenses have to keep getting smarter too. So it leaves us with this really interesting question to think about. What will the next layer of our digital defense actually look like? What's the next big thing that's going to keep us safe online?